The chamber was dark, filled with shadows that moved across the high walls. Strange lights shimmered along the ceiling, glowing like stars trapped inside stone. 12 alien leaders sat around a wide circular table made from black crystal. Each one carried a look of worry, their long faces bent in silence. Only the faint hum of the machines above could be heard. Varn, the elder of his people, leaned forward. His skin was silver gray, and his deep eyes reflected sharp thought. He spoke first, his voice heavy with warning. Humanity grows faster than expected. They build new ships every year. Their engines improve with every failure. If they continue like this, they will reach the stars sooner than we planned. A tall figure named Rith folded his arms and answered. They are clever, but not wise. They fight among themselves. They waste resources. Without help, they will not rise beyond their system. Why fear them? Varn shook his head. Because they learn in ways we do not. They do not need centuries of teaching. Give them a problem, and they will break it apart in days. Give them scraps, and they will forge something new. This is their strength. It is also our danger. The council murmured. Some agreed with him, others did not. Their voices echoed like whispers in a storm. The subject of humans always divided them. Some saw humans as children playing with fire. Others saw them as a threat that could one day rival the old powers of the galaxy. The oldest of the council, a being named Shira, raised her hand for silence. She wore golden armor that glowed softly in the chamber. We cannot argue forever. Varn is right. Humans are different. We must test them, but we cannot reveal our true knowledge. If they are to rise, it will not be through gifts freely given. The others nodded slowly. They all understood the weight of her words. The galaxy had seen too many races grow too fast, turning into empires of destruction. No one wanted another rival that could not be controlled. Rith leaned closer to the table. Then what do you suggest, Shira? She looked at each of them, her voice calm but firm. We hide the warp technology. We let them see only fragments. A broken engine, an incomplete core, symbols that lead nowhere. If they are truly as clever as Varn fears, let them try to rebuild what they do not understand. A ripple of unease spread across the chamber. Testing another species with forbidden knowledge was dangerous. If humans somehow managed to rebuild it, they would cross into the wider galaxy far earlier than anyone planned. But if they failed, the Council would be proved right, and humanity would remain trapped in their small system. Varn's lips tightened. You would give them a piece of the warp drive? Even a broken one holds power beyond their reach. Shira nodded. Yes. Because if they cannot solve it, they remain harmless. But if they can, then we will know the truth of what they are. The other council members exchanged glances. Some were uneasy, others curious. In the end, one by one, they agreed. The motion passed. Humanity would be tested. The chamber lights dimmed as the meeting came to a close. The council members rose from their seats, their cloaks brushing against the floor. They walked out in silence, each carrying thoughts of the strange species called human. Varn remained seated for a moment longer, his eyes staring at the stars above the chamber ceiling. His mind returned to the records he had studied. Humans had risen from stone tools to machines in a blink of cosmic time. They had crossed oceans, split atoms, and reached space faster than any other young race. Their history was full of mistakes, but also full of impossible recoveries. They will surprise us, Varn whispered to himself. And that will be our greatest mistake. He finally rose and left the chamber, but the worry stayed in his heart. He had seen enough of humanity to know one truth: they never stopped moving forward. No wall, no obstacle, no hidden secret kept them still for long. And now, they would face a test no other race had been given. Far away, beyond the alien council and their hidden world, Earth spun quietly under its blue skies. The people of Earth knew nothing of the decision that had just been made. They built their machines, launched their rockets, and dreamed of reaching the stars. They did not know that soon, an object would fall into their hands. A strange device, damaged yet powerful, would arrive as if by accident. The humans would see it as a puzzle. They would not know it was a trap. The council believed they had hidden their secrets well. But what they had truly done was light a spark in the hearts of the only race that could never resist a challenge. And once the spark burned, there would be no turning back. The night sky above Earth was calm, broken only by the blinking lights of satellites moving far overhead. In the desert of Nevada, inside a hidden government facility, an alarm rang. A strange object had been detected entering the atmosphere. It was small, glowing faintly, and moving in a slow, controlled fall. The scientists thought it might be space debris or a broken probe, but its descent was too smooth, too deliberate. By morning, a team stood around the object. It had landed in the sand without leaving much of a crater, as if it had placed itself gently on the ground. The shape was unlike anything the team had seen. It looked like a core, metallic and black, covered in symbols no one could read. Parts of it were broken, wires cut, panels bent. It seemed useless, a piece of junk from another age. David, the lead scientist, stepped closer. He was tall, with sharp eyes that never missed details. His hands brushed the surface of the strange object. It felt warm, as though it carried energy inside. He turned to the others and said, "This is not junk. This is something else. Bring it inside." The object was carried into the lab, placed under bright white lights. Technicians circled it, taking notes and scans. The computer showed strange readings. The metal was not from Earth. The patterns carved into its surface repeated like a hidden language. The team whispered to each other, unsure what they were seeing. Myra, one of David's closest partners, studied the broken parts with care. She was quiet but quick, and she loved puzzles more than anything else. She traced the symbols with her finger and frowned. "This looks like a design, not decoration," she said. "Maybe instructions. Or maybe it is a map of how the parts connect." David leaned over her shoulder, his mind already racing. He had spent his life studying engines, reactors, and drives, but nothing on Earth looked like this. Yet the shape of the broken circuits spoke to him in a strange way. It was as if the object wanted to be rebuilt. The rest of the team doubted it. Some said it was too damaged. Others said it was beyond human science. A few whispered that it might even be dangerous. But David and Myra felt the same thing in their hearts. This was a challenge, and challenges were not to be ignored. Meanwhile, far above Earth, two alien ships watched quietly. Their captains sent reports back to the council. The trap had been set. The humans now had the broken warp core. The aliens expected confusion, frustration, and failure. None of them believed humans would understand what they were holding. To the aliens, the device was a puzzle with missing pieces, designed to waste time and crush hope. Back in the lab, David's team began their study. They worked for hours, scanning each part, breaking it apart even further. Myra kept a notebook filled with patterns she noticed. She circled repeating lines, marked down strange energy readings, and drew possible connections. Every time the core resisted their efforts, David smiled instead of frowning. "Every failure teaches us something," he reminded the team. Days passed into weeks. The broken object became the center of their lives. They built models, created small replicas, and tested different connections. Sometimes sparks flew, sometimes circuits melded, but each time they grew closer to understanding. The strange symbols no longer looked like random scratches. They began to see logic in them, as if the core itself was speaking through numbers and shapes. Myra was the first to notice the rhythm. "It is like music," she said one evening. The patterns rise and fall. Each set repeats after 12. That cannot be an accident. It means something. David nodded, staring at the glowing screen in front of him. It means this was designed to be understood, he whispered. Not by them. By us. The team stared at him, surprised. You think this was left for us on purpose? One of them asked. David's eyes narrowed. I don't know. But I know this. We are going to solve it. No matter what it takes. The air in the room grew heavy with determination. They were no longer just scientists studying a strange object. They were explorers standing at the edge of something greater. The broken core was no longer a piece of metal. It was a doorway, and they were ready to open it. Far beyond Earth, Varn, watching through alien sensors, shook his head when he saw the reports. The humans were not confused. They were not defeated. They were excited. Each broken piece only pushed them harder. Varn turned to his officers and said, "They do not see failure as we do. To them, every mistake is another step forward. That is what makes them dangerous." On Earth, David and Myra stood side by side in the lab. The broken core glowed faintly under the lights. The puzzle was only beginning, but in their hearts, they felt a fire. Whatever this was, whatever it meant, they would solve it. And once they did, nothing would ever be the same again. The laboratory lights never dimmed. Day and night lost meaning for David's team as they worked on the strange core. Coffee cups piled on desks, notebooks filled with sketches and symbols, and tired eyes kept staring at glowing screens. What had started as curiosity had now become obsession. The broken device called to them, and they could not let it go. Myra sat with a small panel from the core, her hands moving carefully with tools. She was tracing tiny lines that looked like veins inside the metal. Each time she touched the right spot, a faint blue light shimmered. She leaned closer, whispering to herself, "It reacts to touch, but only in sequence." David came to stand behind her. His face showed fatigue, but his eyes were alive with focus. "You found something new?" Myra nodded. She pressed 3 points in order. The panel glowed brighter, then faded. "It resets if the pattern is wrong. But if you touch the points in rhythm, it stays lit longer. It is like a lock waiting for the right key." David's mind raced. He turned to the others. "Forget trying to force it. It wants to be solved. It wants us to learn its rules." The room grew quiet. Everyone realized the same truth: this was no ordinary machine. It was designed to teach through challenge. Every wrong move gave hints. Every failed attempt shaped their next success. Days later, the first real breakthrough arrived. The team managed to reconnect one of the broken circuits. When they powered it, the entire lab shook with a deep hum. The lights flickered, screens filled with strange waves, and the object pulsed like a beating heart. For a moment, fear rushed through the room. Some backed away, ready to shut everything down. But David stood his ground, eyes fixed on the core. "No," he said firmly. "This is it. This is progress." The hum softened, and the glow remained steady. Data filled the computer's energy readings higher than any human reactor could produce. Myra smiled wide. "It is alive again. We woke it." Above Earth, alien eyes watched in disbelief. Reports were sent to the council. Humans had not only touched the device, they had brought it back to life. Rith scoffed when he read the message. Impossible. They should not even understand the outer shell, let alone the inner core. But Varn knew better. His heart sank as he whispered, "This is what I feared." They are not afraid of failure. They welcome it. Back in the lab, success filled the room like fire. The team forgot their tiredness. They drew new plans, ran fresh tests, and rebuilt broken wires. Every solved piece revealed another hidden layer. The core was not only a machine, it was a puzzle box, each part leading deeper. One evening, Myra made another discovery. She noticed that the repeating symbols matched star charts. She spread the drawings across the table. Look here. These symbols are not just commands. They are positions. They match constellations. David studied them carefully. His breath caught. Then this is not just a drive. It is a map. A map of where it can take us. The team exchanged looks. For the first time, they understood the scale of what they were holding. This was not a weapon. It was a key to the stars. But the breakthrough was not without cost. Energy surges grew stronger with each test, and strange radiation leaked from the device. The government grew restless, demanding results but fearing danger. Officials called David into private meetings, asking if the work was safe. David always answered the same way: nothing about progress is safe. But it is necessary. The experiments continued. With every test, the team grew faster at solving problems. What seemed impossible at first now felt natural. It was as if the human mind had been waiting for such a challenge. They did not copy, they created. They tore the design apart, learned from it, and built it back in ways no alien had expected. One night, Myra stood by the glowing device, her hand resting gently on its surface. "Do you ever feel like it wants us to succeed?" she asked. David shook his head. "No, I think whoever left this wanted us to fail. But they underestimated one thing." Myra looked at him curiously. "What is that?" David's voice was steady, filled with quiet pride. "They underestimated what it means to be human." The team worked through the night again. The hum of the core filled the lab, stronger now, steadier. Their first breakthrough had given them more than knowledge. It had given them momentum. And momentum, once gained, was unstoppable. Far away, on the alien council world, Shearer read the reports in silence. The others argued about what to do next, their voices sharp with fear. Some called for destroying the humans before it was too late. Others warned that direct action would only expose their secret. Shearer raised her hand, her voice cutting through the noise. "It has begun. We cannot stop them now. We gave them a challenge, and they turned it into strength. Do you not see? Every barrier we place before them will only make them stronger." Her words carried across the chamber. Even Varn, though worried, knew she was right. Humanity had taken its first step into something greater. And once they had taken that step, there was no turning back. On Earth, David and Myra stood over the glowing core, their faces lit by blue light. They were tired, worn, and yet more alive than ever. The first breakthrough had come, but they both knew it was only the beginning. The puzzle was far from solved, and the stars were waiting. The desert air outside the base was silent, but inside the lab the atmosphere pulsed with energy. The core now stood at the center of the room, no longer just a broken relic. Piece by piece, David and Myra had rebuilt it. What had once been a shattered puzzle now glowed with steady light, though in a form that no alien engineer would have expected. The design was different. The humans had stripped away bulky sections, rearranged wires, and replaced broken components with their own creations. Where alien technology had been complex and heavy, the human rebuild was smaller and sharper, shaped by new thinking. It was not a copy. It was an improvement. Myra stepped back and studied their work. "It looks nothing like when we found it," she said softly. David nodded. His hands were still blackened from hours of welding and testing. "That is the point. We did not restore their machine. We made our own." The team gathered around as David powered the core. The hum rose again, stronger than before, filling the lab with vibrations that made the floor tremble. Lights danced across the ceiling, and the computers filled with readings so high they almost broke the limits of measurement. Everyone held their breath. Then the glow steadied into a calm, bright pulse. The new core was alive. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then cheers broke out. The scientists clapped, hugged, and shouted with joy. Years of work seemed to collapse into this one instant of success. Myra turned to David, her eyes shining. "We built it? We actually built it?" David allowed himself a small smile. "No. We rebuilt it better." Far above Earth, the alien watchers froze at the incoming data. The reports were clear: humans had activated the core, and not only that, they had reshaped its design. The aliens who had designed the original device stared at the images with disbelief. One of them muttered, "This is not possible. They changed it? They improved it?" Varn, watching from his own ship, closed his eyes in grim acceptance. "This is exactly what I warned you. They do not just learn. They create." On Earth, the celebration did not last long. The government pushed for the next step. A full test. The device was too powerful to remain inside the lab forever. They prepared a small prototype ship, one built in secret beneath the desert sands. The ship was sleek and simple, nothing like the great alien vessels. It was human-built, with human steel and wires, but at its heart sat the new core. Engineers bolted it in place, their hands shaking as they worked. The idea of testing it both thrilled and terrified them. David stood before the ship with his team. The desert wind howled outside the hangar, but inside all was still. "Today we see if our work is real," he said. "If this works, humanity will never be the same." Myra stepped forward, placing her hand on the hull. "Then let us see what waits beyond." The team entered the control room. The ship powered up, lights flashing across its panels. The hum of the core filled the air, steady and strong. Energy readings soared. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. David's eyes never left the screens. His heart pounded, but his voice was calm. 7, 6, 5. The desert air outside shimmered with heat as the engines prepared. 4, 3, 2. The ship shook with energy, glowing like a star trapped in steel. 1. The ship vanished. No sound, no explosion, no flame. One instant it was there, the next it was gone. The desert wind blew across empty sand. The control room filled with gasps. For seconds, nothing happened. Then the screens lit up with signals. The ship had reappeared, not destroyed, not broken but standing intact miles away. The core had worked. The ship had jumped forward in space instantly. The room erupted with cheers. The team embraced, shouting with relief and pride. Humanity had just achieved what no one thought possible. They had not just unlocked warp technology. They had reshaped it into something new. David gripped the edge of the console, his voice steady but full of awe. "We are no longer bound to Earth. We can go anywhere." Myra smiled beside him. "We rebuilt the impossible." Above Earth, the Alien Council received the news. Panic filled the chamber. Their test had backfired. Instead of confusion and failure, the humans had achieved the unthinkable in record time. Some leaders shouted for immediate action, to destroy the human labs before it was too late. Others argued that attacking now would only provoke a species that had just proven it could not be held back. Shira's calm voice silenced them all. They were never meant to succeed, yet they did. "Do you not see? They are unlike any other race we have met. And they will not stop here." Varn lowered his head. "The spark has been lit. Soon, it will become a fire." Back in the desert, David and Myra stood side by side, staring at the glowing ship. Their faces reflected both fear and hope. They knew what this meant. Humanity had stepped into a new age. The stars were no longer distant lights. They were now within reach. and nothing could stop them from reaching further. The alien council chamber glowed with cold light. 12 leaders sat in a circle once more, their faces hard and voices sharp. Reports from the watchers above Earth had spread like fire. The humans had done the impossible. They had not only restored the broken core, they had changed it, made it stronger, and tested it on a ship that vanished and reappeared safely. Fear filled the room. One leader slammed his hand on the table. This was a mistake. We should never have left them the device. Already they walk on paths they were not meant to see. Another hissed in reply. Destroy them before they grow further. Burn their labs, end their work, and erase their memory of this. Shira raised her hand, her voice calm but firm. You speak as if it is simple. Do you forget who they are? Humans do not surrender. If we strike, they will only rise harder. Rith leaned forward, his golden eyes narrow. Then what do you suggest? Shall we watch them build fleets? Shall we wait until their ships fill the stars and rival our own? The chamber erupted with noise, voices clashing like weapons. Fear drove them, but beneath fear was something else: respect. None of them could deny the truth anymore. The humans had done in months what other races could not achieve in centuries. Varn rose slowly, his tall frame casting a shadow across the table. His voice cut through the noise. I warned you. They do not see failure as we do. Every mistake is fuel to them. They learn by breaking, by tearing apart, by starting again. They are dangerous because they cannot be stopped. You speak of destroying them, but already it may be too late. The council fell silent at his words. Even Rith, who had mocked his warnings before, lowered his gaze. Shira spoke again, softer now. Perhaps destruction is not the path. Perhaps control. If we cannot stop them, then we must guide them. Better an ally than an enemy. Her words stirred unease, but no one could deny their weight. The thought of humanity as an ally was frightening, yet perhaps less frightening than humanity as a rival. Meanwhile, far from the council's fears, Earth celebrated in silence. The experiment in the desert was classified, known only to a small circle of scientists and officials. Yet within that circle, joy burned bright. Humanity had touched the stars for the first time, and those who stood at the edge of history felt the gravity of what had been done. David sat in the control room late at night, staring at the glowing readings from the core. Myra entered quietly, carrying a folder of test results. She placed it on the table and sat beside him. You should rest, she said softly. David shook his head. How can I rest now? Do you realize what this means? We are standing on the first step of something larger than all of history. Myra smiled faintly. I realize. That is why I cannot sleep either. For a moment, they sat in silence, listening to the hum of the core. It sounded steady, almost like a heartbeat. To them, it felt alive. The government was already planning the next trial. A larger ship, a longer jump. The project had grown beyond a single lab. Engineers from across the country were being called in, though under strict secrecy. Every step was hidden from the public eye, but those who worked on it knew they were shaping the future of their species. Back in the council chamber, panic continued to grow. The debate shifted from words to threats. Some demanded fleets be sent to destroy Earth before the humans spread further. Others argued that such an act would expose the council's own secrets. Rith shouted across the table. Do you not see the danger? Today they jump across their deserts. Tomorrow they will jump across the stars. Once they spread, we cannot contain them. Shira answered calmly, and if we strike first, what then? You forget the power of their minds. Even if we destroy one project, they will build another. Even if we shatter their fleets, they will rise again. This is their nature. To fight them is to fight the tide. Varn lowered his gaze, his voice heavy. Perhaps the truth is this. We were fools to test them. We feared what they might become, and in testing, we only gave them the path to become it faster. The chamber grew silent. No one spoke for a long moment. The council, filled with the oldest and most powerful minds of the galaxy, had no answer to the problem before them. On Earth, David walked outside into the desert night. The stars stretched above him, countless points of light. For the first time, he did not see them as distant. He saw them as places waiting to be reached. Myra joined him, following his gaze. "Do you ever wonder if someone is watching us?" she asked. David nodded slowly. "I do. And if they are, I hope they are afraid. Because they should be." The desert wind blew softly, carrying their words into the night sky. Neither of them knew how true their thoughts were. Far above, alien ships still watched in silence, their captains torn between fear and wonder. The humans had taken their test and turned it into triumph. The council's panic grew louder with every report. But for David and Myra, the noise of the galaxy was far away. What mattered now was simple. They had rebuilt the impossible. And soon, humanity would take the next leap. The desert sky was quiet, but inside the hidden hangar, energy pulsed like a living thing. David and Myra stood before the human-built ship, its hull sleek and polished, the rebuilt core glowing at its heart. This was not a test anymore. This was the first true journey beyond Earth using warp technology. The team had worked tirelessly for months to prepare. Engineers checked every wire, every panel, every system. Every calculation had been run a dozen times. Failure was no longer an option. The ship would either leap across space or remain firmly on Earth. David stepped into the control room, Myra following close behind. They were the first crew of the human warp experiment. Around them, the team worked in tense silence. The countdown timer blinked steadily on the console. "Are we ready?" David asked, his voice steady but full of tension. "Yes," Myra replied, gripping the edge of the console. "All systems are green. It is time." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Outside the hangar, the desert shimmered slightly, the air warming as the core drew power. Inside, the hum grew louder, vibrating through metal and bone alike. The crew's hearts raced. 7, 6, 5. David checked the final readings. Energy levels were higher than anything Earth had ever produced. The core pulsed steadily, as if aware that it was about to carry humans into the unknown. 4, 3, 2. Myra's hand rested lightly on the console. "Hold steady," she whispered. "Whatever happens, we are ready." 1. The ship shimmered, a wave of blue light washing over it. The desert itself seemed to bend and stretch as the ship vanished from sight. The hangar was empty. Silence filled the air for a heartbeat. Then alarms beeped softly, signals from the ship were coming back. It had worked. The screens in the control room showed the first view from the ship. The crew was standing intact, Earth a small blue sphere behind them. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, vast and silent. They had jumped instantly across hundreds of kilometers, far faster than any conventional engine could achieve. David felt a rush of triumph and disbelief. "We did it," he said quietly. "We really did it." Myra smiled, her eyes wide with wonder. "This is only the beginning. The stars, we can reach them now." The team on Earth erupted into cheers, hugging each other and shouting. The human spirit had taken its first leap into the galaxy. They had rebuilt what aliens had hidden and had not just restored it, they had improved it. Far above, the alien watchers grew tense. Varn's face was pale with worry. "They have crossed the threshold," he said. "The spark we feared has become a flame. They will not stop at deserts. They will leap further. They will spread." Rith clenched his fists. "We cannot allow this. Humanity must be contained before it grows too powerful." Shira shook her head slowly. Containment will not work. We tested them, and they passed. Every challenge we set before them only made them stronger. They do not fear failure. They embrace it. And that is why they are dangerous. On the ship, David and Myra continued their checks. The core hummed steadily, energy flowing perfectly through the ship. Every system functioned better than expected. They had not only survived the jump, they had thrived. Myra turned to David. Imagine what we can do next. Longer jumps. Reaching other planets. Even other star systems. David nodded. We have only touched the surface. Every limit we thought existed has just been broken. Back on Earth, plans began forming immediately. Scientists and engineers began drafting designs for larger ships, more powerful cores, and longer warp journeys. Humanity had begun a new age, one where exploration was no longer confined to the solar system. Meanwhile, the Alien Council debated. Panic and awe within the chamber. Some urged immediate action, to strike before humans could build fleets. Others warned that any attack would reveal their own secrets and provoke a species that could not be easily defeated. Varn remained silent for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "We underestimated them. We thought hiding knowledge would keep them small. But we have given them the path to greatness. And greatness cannot be stopped once it begins." On the ship, David and Myra prepared to return to Earth. The core powered down smoothly, their first warp complete without incident. They emerged with new confidence, knowing that humanity had taken its first step into the stars. Myra looked out at the desert below. "Do you think they are watching?" she asked. David glanced at the sky. "If they are, they should know one thing. We are not afraid anymore. We will keep moving forward." The sun rose slowly, casting long shadows across the desert. The world below remained unaware of the leap humanity had just made. But for those who had seen it, for those who had felt it, there was no question, the age of human exploration had begun. The stars were open. Humanity had taken its first step. And nothing would ever be the same. The Alien Council chamber was quiet now, but tension filled the air. Every leader sat in silence, staring at the reports from their watchers above Earth. Humanity had not only rebuilt the broken warp core, they had improved it, tested it, and made a ship leap across space. Their speed of learning and adaptation had surpassed all predictions. Varn stood before the council, his expression grave. "We left them a test. We thought they would fail. Instead, they surpassed it. They have done what no other young race could achieve." Shira's eyes were steady. "And now we must face the truth. We cannot control them. We cannot stop them. They are beyond containment. They are beyond fear. They are human." Ritha's voice broke the silence. "Then what do we do? If we reveal ourselves, they may see us as threats. If we stay hidden, they may continue to grow, reaching places we cannot imagine. Every option is dangerous." Varn looked down, silent for a long moment. Perhaps, they were never meant to be guided. Perhaps they were meant to rise on their own. Far below, on Earth, David and Myra watched the desert sunrise from their lab. The glow of the rebuilt core filled the room with calm light. The first human warp mission had been a success, but they knew it was only the beginning. Myra turned to David. "Do you think they will understand? The aliens, I mean. That we only want to explore, not fight." David smiled faintly. "If they are watching, they will understand one thing. Humans do not follow limits. We see challenges and we rise. We rebuild what is broken, and we improve it. That is who we are." The alien watchers finally made a decision. They revealed themselves quietly to Earth scientists, appearing as shimmering forms in remote labs. There was no attack, no threat, only observation. David and Myra met them calmly, curiosity shining in their eyes. One of the alien observers spoke, voice soft and measured. We left the core as a test. You have not only passed it, you have reshaped it? We underestimated you. David nodded, keeping his tone steady. You hit it? We found it? We rebuilt it? And now we are ready to see what lies beyond. Myra added, this is not a weapon. It is a path to the stars. We want to explore, to learn, and to grow. The aliens studied them silently. They had faced many races in their history, but never one like this. The humans did not cower. They did not beg. They did not threaten. They only stood with determination, a quiet strength that radiated from every word and action. Varn finally spoke. You are unlike any race we have encountered. You do not fear failure. You do not wait for permission. You adapt, create, and rise. That is why you cannot be controlled. Shira nodded slowly. Perhaps the galaxy will be better for it. Perhaps your rise will inspire others, not destroy them. But know this, you have begun a journey that will change everything. There will be challenges. There will be threats. And yet, you will endure. David looked at the aliens, his voice calm but firm. We understand. And we accept it. Humanity will face the stars, not as followers, but as explorers. We will not be stopped, and we will not be held back. Myra stepped forward, placing her hand on the glowing core. We rebuilt the impossible. Now we will continue to do what must be done. We will go further than anyone imagined. Outside, Earth's first human warp fleet was quietly being prepared. Ships larger than the first prototype waited in secret bases across the world. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly, building engines, mapping jump routes, and training crews. Humanity had taken the first step, and now the next wave was ready. Above, the aliens watched in silence. Some were fearful, some were curious, but all were certain of one truth. Humans would not stop. Humans would not obey limits. Humans would rise, faster and higher than any species had ever done. David and Myra stood together in the lab, the glow of the core reflecting in their eyes. They knew that the galaxy had just changed. Humanity had taken the impossible, broken it, rebuilt it, and in doing so had rewritten its own destiny. The stars were no longer distant lights. They were now destinations. And humanity would reach them, one leap at a time. Varn, watching from afar, whispered softly, we hit it, and they tore it apart. They rebuilt it instantly. And now, they are ready. The council fell silent. Humanity had passed the test. And in doing so, it had become unstoppable. The galaxy would never be the same.